the vital connection between sleep and weight management. Now, I'm sure we've all at this point in time in our lives, if you are perimenopausal, have had a bad night's sleep. There are so many different reasons for this, and we'll go into only a couple, but this is an extremely complicated topic. And also, I'd like to pose a question for you. Have you noticed that when you're not sleeping very well, the next day your cravings increase? The vital connection between sleep and weight management. Quality sleep is absolutely crucial for weight loss and management, especially for perimenopausal women. Sleep deprivation can decrease levels of leptin, the hormone that signals fullness. So ghrelin is that hormone that makes you pick up that fork and start to eat. And leptin is that beautiful hormone that needs to be beautifully balanced with ghrelin that says to you, I think I've had enough. I don't need to finish my meal. When your leptin and your ghrelin are out of balance, you never truly get that beautiful feeling of being satiated or that's enough. So that's when we can quite often use those drug-like foods to overeat and to medicate with food in an unbeneficial way for our biochemistry. So sleep deprivation can decrease that sensitivity. So those levels of leptin hormones that signal that fullness and the increase, and of course the sleep deprivation increases the hormone ghrelin, which signals hunger. So it makes us want to eat more. And generally when we haven't slept very well, our bodies go for quick fixes. So food-like substances that are drug-like too. So things that give us a hit, sugar, white flour, dairy quite often can do that for us too, leading to overeating and unfortunately weight gain, which we do not need at this time. Poor sleep can also contribute to increased levels of stress and cortisol levels, further exacerbating that weight gain and unhealthy eating habits. So what happens is at night, we need melatonin, our sleep hormone, to be really high. And melatonin and cortisol have a relationship where one is high, the other is low. So once the sun sets, melatonin comes up beautifully. We start yawning. About 3 hours after sunset is when we should naturally have nice levels of melatonin kicking in, letting us know that it's time to get to bed. And when melatonin increases, that stress hormone cortisol decreases. But what tends to happen is if we wake during the night or we have a blood glucose dysregulation issue, we can have cortisol levels rising. Or, for example, if we turn on fluorescent lights or we start to look at our screens and we disrupt our beautiful retinas and we're not getting that darkness into the eye, we can actually raise cortisol unnaturally. So if cortisol is high, of course, melatonin is low. So we're unable to sleep or stay asleep throughout the night. And keeping in mind, blood glucose has got something to do with this as well. Really important to make sure that you get enough fat and enough protein in that dinner meal so that it keeps you asleep all night long. Not to mention the fact that we quite often have to start with a protein first thing in the morning too in perimenopause because we're more susceptible to insulin resistance. So yes, poor sleep can also contribute to increased stress and cortisol levels, further exacerbating the weight gain and unhealthy eating habits. Good sleep hygiene practices, such as setting a consistent sleep schedule or creating a relaxing bedtime routine and ensuring a comfortable sleep environment, can significantly improve the quality and the quantity of your sleep. Please make sure that your bedroom is an absolute sanctuary. Clutter, make sure that you're sleeping on natural fibers, you've got natural fabrics, the room isn't hot, it's nice and cool, and try to make sure it's as dark as possible. Some of the research actually talks about the fact that when we hold our hands in front of our faces and our eyes are closed, we shouldn't necessarily be able to see them. So the room needs to actually be that dark to ensure that melatonin levels are at their best. And of course, cortisol is low. But keep in mind that this sort of sleep management, cortisol and melatonin piece is very closely related to the increase in weight, because if we have high cortisol levels, the message or the biochemical message that is sending to your body is that you're in a war zone. And your old-fashioned biochemical body knows that when you're in a war zone, famine could potentially be an issue. So it starts to store absolutely everything that you put in your mouth. So what I'm trying to say in simple terms is that the message that you need to send to your body is, I am at peace, all is well in the world, and I have a nutrient-dense, rich blood supply. So during perimenopause is not the time to deprive yourself of calories. This is the time to eat. Make sure that you have a nutrient-dense, rich blood supply. Make sure that you're following the natural rhythms of cortisol and melatonin, and ensuring you get to bed in a nice dark room. You're not getting that blue light into your eyes, and you're not using a screen too close to bedtime. All right, hope this is making sense. Foods that naturally boost melatonin levels. I absolutely love tart cherries. Bioceuticals actually make an incredible product. Not that I have any affiliation with them, but they have an Ultra Muscles Night. It's a magnesium night product that actually has tart cherry in it, because tart cherry naturally contains melatonin. So that really helps us reset our melatonin and our cortisol levels. Nuts, fatty fish are incredible too. The smash fish, incredible for our brains during perimenopause. Those beautiful omega-3s can also help regulate sleep and wakefulness. Poor sleep can lead to an imbalance of hormonal levels and insulin resistance and other health issues too. So insulin resistance is a huge issue when cortisol is high and you're not getting a good night's sleep. And insulin resistance makes sure that we are in a fat store as opposed to a fat burn state. So it has a twofold effect. Unfortunately, it helps us increase our weight. And for most of us, that isn't the issue. We don't necessarily want to be increasing our weight during this time. And also, we're not able to access those energy stores or that energy from our food. So quite often we have an energy crisis in perimenopause, and we're putting on the weight as well due to that insulin resistance. So yeah, like I said, officially we're then in a fat store as opposed to a fat burn state. At the Holland Clinic, in my protocol, the Peri Power Plan, I teach women through my keto cuppers how to get themselves into a fat burn state first thing in the morning, so that you can get that energy level straight to the brain and you can start burning fat as opposed to storing it. So adopting a healthy eating habits on days following bad sleep can also counteract negative effects. Like I said before, quite often when we've had a bad night's sleep, the next day cravings increase because our energy levels are lower. And when we have these sorts of cravings, they're not necessarily for 3 cups of green leafy veg. They're generally for those drug-like food substances that give us the quick hits, that then again exacerbate this fat store state, but also push us into insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome, which is definitely not what we want. Good sleep hygiene can improve cognitive function and memory consolidation. So they've actually shown in clinical trials that if our lymphatic system, which is the cleaning system in our brain, gets enough sleep overnight, it can do all of that repair and all of that clean out, and it helps us to consolidate those memories. So it's easier for us to remember the things that we have learned, or to remember important things in the family dynamic as well. When you just go, oh, I can't remember that you told me that, or, oh, yeah, maybe you told me, I've just got no idea. You know that your lymphatic system is not working as well as it should be. Research studies support the link between sleep and weight management, most definitely. So getting enough quality sleep can help regulate cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and reduce stress, of course, contributing to healthier eating habits and weight management. So quite often you may or may not have experienced this, but when you are getting beautiful sleep, you wake up in the morning, you don't necessarily have cravings, your cortisol is nice and low, so you don't have that stress response first thing. You are cool, calm, and collected. You've got lead in your boots, and you can make really great decisions about what you choose to eat that day. Ideally, a nutrient-dense, rich blood supply, 3 cups of green leafy veg, 1 cup of color, 200 grams of high-quality protein per meal. So sleep and weight loss in perimenopause, the power of supplementation and lifestyle changes. I teach the lifestyle changes in my clinic and through my online programs, of course. There's a 3-part recovery process in my program. It is repair, rebalance, and reclaim. And there are 5 elements to my 3-part recovery, which is the smart fasting. I teach you to fast like a woman. The keto cuppers, which support a supported fast. I don't recommend that women do a sort of white knuckle fast the way that men do. And then, of course, my food protocols, and I have 3 specific food protocols that I draw on for perimenopausal women, depending on your individualized circumstances, my evidence-based supplementation, and the health chronicles. And then there's actually a little sneaky number 6, and that is I really do encourage you to move in a way that you love. So find movement that you adore and make sure that you're doing that on a regular basis. So sleep and weight loss in perimenopause, the power of supplements and lifestyle changes. Perimenopause can cause sleep problems and weight gain due to hormonal changes. So things like progesterone deficiency and an estrogen excess. And lifestyle changes such as exercise, morning light exposure, and sleeping in a dark room can improve sleep and support weight loss. So talking about that morning light exposure, that's just the exact opposite to what we need to be doing when the sun goes down. So when that sun goes down, our eyes need to see blue daylight turn to red, which is sunset, and then to black. In the morning, ideally, if you really want to reset your cortisol levels, I myself have done this and it works a treat. I went through a phase where I was really exhausted, but I really wanted to make sure that my cortisol and my melatonin were working in my favor. So I got up every single morning before the sun rose, got onto the beach, make sure that I saw black to red, which is sunrise, and then to blue. This is an absolutely brilliant, free way to reset your cortisol and your melatonin. So cortisol rises in the morning so that you jump out of bed in the morning with the energy that you need in order to start your day. And then melatonin increases at night to keep you asleep. So those lifestyle changes can be incredibly beneficial and they're free. And of course, for women with small children, I really highly encourage that you try to set your children's melatonin levels too. I know it's difficult to get to the beach or leave them at home when you're trying to do brekkie early, but open the blinds and get that first light into the room. Supplementation, evidence-based supplementation in my clinic. So TGA, Therapeutic Goods Association only. These supplements have randomized placebo-controlled trials behind them. So they have to tell you what is in them. There are no excipients. These are not sold to you as a food. They're sold to you as a therapeutic good. So supplements like magnesium and taurine, vitamin B6, glycine, and myo-inositol can aid in weight loss and improve sleep quality. Magnesium regulates metabolism, improves insulin resistance and inflammation, and regulates cortisol levels. Mag Optima Relax is one of the magnesiums that I use in my clinic. I use about 3 or 4 different kinds of magnesium. And Mag Optima Relax is one of the magnesiums that I use first because it has a huge gut healing component as well. Taurine regulates glucose and insulin levels, improves lipid metabolism, and has an anti-inflammatory property, which is absolutely what we need in perimenopause. There has never been a time in our lives where we have been more inflamed with less energy. So anti-inflammatory is the way to go. We need to support an anti-inflammatory diet, of course, as well. All of my food protocols in the clinic are based on the Mediterranean and the longevity diets, looking at all of the research from neuroscientists like Lisa Mosconi, Dr. Dale Bredesen, Alessio Fasano, and Jason Fung, for example. He's also huge in the fasting component, but these guys are doing absolutely incredible research on the longevity in the Mediterranean diets. And my food protocol for perimenopausal women is based on this hybrid. Active vitamin B6 aids in the metabolism of carbohydrates and proteins and regulates appetite, mood, and reduces inflammation. Glycine promotes relaxation, improves insulin sensitivity, and reduces markers of inflammation. Again, so important. And myo-inositol is one of my favorite supplements on the planet to reduce metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance in perimenopausal women, but it has the added benefit of improving sleep and ovulation. Sometimes when we're having anovulatory cycles, it can be really disconcerting in perimenopause, and myo-inositol can definitely help with this, particularly for women with polycystic ovarian syndrome, for example. But of course, please, it's so important to consult with myself or another healthcare practitioner before starting any new supplement regime, especially if you have underlying health conditions or are taking medication. Research has been conducted on the effects of these supplements on weight loss and overall health. If you're interested in any of the research, please reach out, hello@thehollandclinic.com, and I'll be happy to provide you with the research. I'm an absolute nerd when it comes to research. Thank you again so much for always being here with me on my Let's Talk Peri chats. And of course, I'm always here for you. As I said before, I am the principal practitioner founder at the Holland Clinic in Melbourne, Australia. If you'd like to reach out, book a free clarity call with me if you'd like to see whether my clinic is appropriate for you or whether one of our online courses will work for you best. I have the repair, which is the first part of my 3-part recovery process online course. I'll have this information inside the green room for you. I hope you are extremely well. Thank you so much for being such great company, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you and have a beautiful evening.